Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. Trying to compose myself after Denny made me laugh right before we came on air. I am Patrick Daugherty. That is, of course, Denny. I won't say his last name today. At CD Carter 13 on X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter.
Thank you. He did it.
Yeah.
He finally came to terms with it.
No, that's the one time I'm ever going to do it.
No.
And, so there's not a lot to talk about today, but also is a surprising amount to talk about. Christian Watson is telling people that he has solved his hamstring woes. Andy Reid is telling people that Denny has never been more wrong, or it's never been more over for Denny, because Patrick Mahomes is really focusing on pushing the ball down the field in off-season workouts. Anthony Richardson saying he's not going to change the way he plays. Aaron Rodgers talking about Malachi Corley. Tee Higgins still not reporting, still not anywhere close to on the same page with the Cincinnati Bengals. A few other items we might have time to get to. Broncos backfield, Rashod Bateman's promising, not exaggerating, a 5-man competition, which
sounds fun for fantasy.
Sounds great. And Ravens OC Todd Monken saying he's seen, quote, tremendous growth from Rashod Bateman. We'll see about that.
There's a lot of growth all the time for Bateman.
So much growth. Denny, this would normally be when you riff, and I have a riffing topic ready. Hey, Denny. No, that was the joke. I don't have a riffing topic.
I thought you were going to mention how sweaty we are, because we talked just before, like seconds before the show started. We talked about, I said, well, I'm sweaty, and you said I'm sweaty, and then producer Adam said I'm sweaty. So we're all sweaty, and it's a sweaty time of year. I spent all of Sunday sweating. I'm talking like from morning till sundown at 8:30, 9 o'clock, whatever it was. I was sweating profusely, and I stunk. I actually stunk to the point where my kids said, wow, "Please, Dad, don't come near me. You smell bad."
I'll be honest. So it hasn't even really been that hot yet by St. Louis standards. We somehow only had one 90-degree day. It's kind of been in like the high 70s, low 80s, which is hot for some parts of the country this time of year. But it hasn't been as hot as it could have been. But it's so unremittingly, relentingly humid. And I try, this might surprise some people. Like, I'm not exactly like a fashion guy, but I try to wait as long as possible to wear shorts. Like a man should wear pants.
Right.
Like a man needs to wear pants. Have you ever thought about wearing pants? Aren't you an adult?
This is a boomer take that I have.
It's a boomer take that I have, but I've gone to shorts earlier than ever this year. Because, the climates you and I live in, you have to put on shorts at some point. There's no point in being a hero. Like, you got to wear shorts. But I usually try to wait till at least June 10th, and no, it's already short season.
Pat, we've never talked about this, I don't think, but I do exactly the same thing where I torture myself into June as far as I can push it until I finally say, okay, enough. I will take out the shorts. I'm wearing shorts right now. Okay, you'll just have to believe me. And usually I try to wear jeans this time of year because, right, I mean, there's this old school belief that guys look silly in shorts, and I feel like I do look silly in shorts, but I'm too hot. It's too hot, guys. Right now, I feel the perspiration dripping down the back of my neck into my shirt. It's so hot right now.
It's dripping off my forehead. This is real. This is great podcasting.
I want it just to be cooler. Can it just be a little cooler?
If you're watching at YouTube, on YouTube, try to zoom in. You can find a bead of sweat right there on my forehead.
So by the way, in Maryland, it goes from winter to the hellish mouth of summer. We don't have spring. Adam, our producer, can attest to this. Me and Adam went to go play golf 2 weeks ago. It was 40 degrees with sideways rain the entire time. 40 degrees. It's playing in Scotland, okay? And then no offense to our Scottish listeners, but yeah, come on, you guys have horrible weather.
You do.
And then today it's 147 degrees here.
I've noticed. Listen, not to get political, but some people say the climate is changing, and I know we don't have a fall anymore. In St. Louis, we don't have fall. It just stays hot to December 7th. Like it never gets below 71 degrees until December 7th. But with the climate changing, our springs have been much cooler. They're we get these horrible springs. And then, like you said, you just wake up one day and it's 89 degrees with 71% humidity. St. Louis does not have a single nice day during the spring anymore.
Yeah.
It's the worst weather in the world. Not a single nice day in your life last year if you were drafting Christian Watson, because all he ever did was score 2 touchdowns and then missed 2 months of action. So I guess maybe he won you a few weeks, but Christian Watson is becoming as synonymous with the hamstring muscle as Keenan Allen. Keenan eventually sort of figured it out, Denny. Christian Watson, who's an entirely different game. He's a sideline dominator, a deep threat, a red zone presence, as opposed to like the stop-start, shifty game of Keenan Allen. So different kind of game, but same kind of hamstring problems. He claims he has figured this out, Denny. Take the listeners through it, and what could the implications be if Christian Watson has actually solved his hamstring issues heading into his 3rd year in the league?
Right. So Packers head coach Matt LaFleur said a couple months ago that kind of dismissively, oh, Christian went to a special lab to get his hamstring checked out. We all laughed. Special lab. Okay. All right.
Assuming it's in Germany.
Right. This guy can't stay healthy. Well, it turns out it was an actual special lab. It was very special. It was funded partly by the NFL, which gave millions of dollars to this lab to study hamstring injuries and other soft tissue injuries. And Christian Watson went there, and it turns out that he was diagnosed with a very asymmetrical stride. This is the issue. And so he had a muscle mass imbalance from left leg to right leg. And this contributed big time to his constant hamstring woes. They're figuring that out. They're balancing that stride and trying to get it right. And apparently he looks good. He looks better than ever in training or in OTAs. I do think this sounds funny, and it sounds like I'm making fun of it, but I actually do think that this is a significant development in Christian Watson's ability to stay healthy and stay on the field. And it really does, as we'll talk about in a second, really change the way that we need to look at these Green Bay receivers.
Yeah, because Christian Watson, if he had actually stayed healthy the past 2 years, there's a pretty good chance he'd be a top 12 wide receiver right now, because he's got the big playability. He has the nose for the end zone. He's just got such an explosive game, or even if it's PPR and he's not catching 7 to 8 balls per game, he's got the kind of skill set that just dominates in fantasy leagues and could be like a legendary fantasy player. Maybe I'm overselling it a little bit.
Maybe a little.
He could be a big time fantasy factor, much bigger than he has been. I mean, he's currently only the wide receiver 46 right now.
Right.
Jayden Reed is the wide receiver 43. Christian Watson's ADP is only 7 spots higher than Romeo Doubs, who's the wide receiver 53. Donyavion Wicks, who we like a lot, the wide receiver 61. Do you think this ADP, the wide receiver 46, is going to be creeping up? Does it deserve to creep up? Should he be? So I wrote Christian Watson I have as an undervalued receiver in our draft guide. What do you think the journey for his ADP is going to be?
I think it will creep up, but I do think that there will be a firmly capped ceiling for Watson's ADP because of the way that he has burned fantasy managers over the past 2 years. You get really excited about a guy with a high ADOT. I mean, really, like coming into the league, his profile, his athletic profile, his production profile was like frightening. Okay, like really, really good in many ways. It's just been the injury. So wide receiver 46, I guess that is the assumption that he cannot possibly make it through anything close to a full season because of the hamstrings or whatever. Like you said, if he played 2 full seasons coming into 2024, he'd be going definitely as a top 15, maybe as a top 12 receiver off the board. So saying that, I think that's a great value right now. I did want to real quick go through like the target earning ability of these Green Bay receivers, because it's not super clear like who would be the number one if all of them are healthy. I'll start from the bottom here. Luke Musgrave, I know not a receiver, but the tight end, he was targeted on 17.5% of his routes last year. Okay, so he was at the low end. Watson was at 18.8% target per route run. Right ahead of him is Romeo Doubs at 19%. So basically Watson and Doubs are the same. Then you have Donyavion Wicks at 19.5%, slightly better. And then Jayden Reed, significantly better at 23.2%. So Reed comes off as the target commander here. But Reed wasn't really seeing a ton of looks until Watson was out last year. So I think that these ADPs really reflect like a complete lack of understanding of who is going to lead this receiver group. And if you're coming to me, for instance, I don't really have one right now. I guess it would be Reed, I guess, but not by much.
And Reed and Watson can coexist, like totally different types of games. They're very complementary players. So I don't think, even if you're higher than consensus on Christian Watson, doesn't mean you have to be out on Jayden Reed. I don't know, maybe you really like Donyavion, Wicks or something. But it's not even necessarily an either or with those two in an offense that is just so on the rise and was printing fantasy money the second half of last season. We call that crypto, actually, fantasy money.
It is technically. It's on the blockchain.
Play money, real money, but that doesn't matter. We have a lot of crypto fans. Actually, not entire. Lots of people listen to shows. I don't know anything about it. I still don't. After 15 years, still don't know anything about it.
They couldn't tell. They couldn't tell we were not crypto heads.
I know they could not. But Christian Watson, so he's going behind some totally insane. So I think Deontay Johnson, actually, his ADP is also ridiculously low. But Christian Watson at wide receiver 46 or Deontay Johnson at wide receiver 4.
What is Johnson at?
Wide receiver 44, 2 spots ahead of Mr. Christian Watson.
I mean, I guess it depends on how you're putting your team together, what you're looking for. But like for me, it's not even close. Like I'm not even looking at Deontay Johnson at that part of the draft.
Really, you're not? I think Deontay's ADP is way, way too low.
Oh no! Look, this Panther. Come on, you got to get out on this Panthers offense.
Well, I am. That's the Panthers 2024 season is not about being good. It's about somewhat salvaging Bryce Young's career. Dave Canales knows that Bryce Young probably isn't good enough to succeed with, but he also knows that if he's going to have any chance whatsoever, it's got to be like the layup line looks to Deontay Johnson.
That's true. Yeah.
I think Deontay is going to be painting his 8-catch, 54-yard masterpiece all season. And they're going as a mid-range wide receiver 4 is too low. But of course, I'm taking Christian Watson, an actual week winner, over Deontay Johnson. Christian Watson's going behind Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, what? Why?
Yeah, that's weird.
Why? I guess we have 2 different waves of drafters who have been hurt by Christian Watson, I guess. It'd be one thing, I guess, with 1 year. We have 2 different groups of people, I guess, who are out on Christian Watson forever, but should not be going behind JSN. He's 4 receiver spots behind Brian Thomas. Would you have any Brian Thomas opinions yet, or have you not developed?
I do. I know this is a sellout, a cop out, some would say, but better in best ball. I do like to take him in best ball, but you're not going to want that headache and redraft, guys. Like, I just feel like there are better ways to go about your draft than draft Brian Johnson or Brian Thomas.
I know we're all year like Brian Smith, Brian Jones.
Right. To draft him and then hope and pray that one of his 3 targets goes for an 85-yard touchdown. That's kind of what you're going to be stuck with. And then
he'll be 1 catch for 79 yards. Then Gabe Davis actually gets the 81-yard touchdown. Neither one of them are going to catch more than 1 ball per game. This isn't really that fun of a game, I guess. But Christian Watson, wide receiver 46. Keon Coleman, wide receiver 40.
Watson. Because I believe that Watson has actually addressed the central issue here, and folks can read about it. We have a pretty detailed.
The ADP is going to rise, by the way. I think after this,
it will. But I'm just saying, like, if you're drafting best ball teams during the dead time of year, you could do a lot worse than getting a high upside guy, a downfield threat in Christian Watson. And Jordan Love actually did target Watson on a good clip of his downfield routes last year. That's something I forgot to add earlier. So it is a part of like a central part of this Green Bay offense. And especially look, if you're doing best ball and you're dead set on getting Jordan Love, I feel like Christian Watson is like a must have in that situation.
Yes.
Like you're definitely going to want to stack him up with Reed or with Wicks or some, you're going to need 2, maybe 3 Packers pass catchers, but Watson has to be one of them because those are going to be splash plays.
This is true every year, but I'm going through the wide receiver ADPs. And I think the final production tally of the season is going to have less relation than ever to the summer ADP. Things are so jumbled this year. There's so many new quarterback situations. Like a lot of this ADP just kind of looks like drawn out of a hat to me. Like Zay Flowers, wide receiver 25, George Pickens, people are not in on. Like Amari Cooper's really low, Keenan Allen's really low, Terry McLaurin's really low. The Chiefs receivers are really low. Like, I just think there's going to be Tyler Lockett is outside the top 50.
Yeah. By the way,
this is going to be crazy stuff this year.
Yeah. With Amari Cooper, his ADP, what is it right now?
It's like wide receiver 29, I believe.
Right. His ADP is so low that I actually had to look him up to make sure he hadn't like retired or suffered a career-ending injury.
Wallard.
Because I was about to draft him in a best ball league, a slow draft, and I was like, wait, what? Why is he still available? I was like, I don't want to be duped. I'm going to the Rotoworld news page and I'm going to check it out. And I didn't see anything. So I drafted him.
It turns out we missed the blurb.
Come on, Kyle.
Didn't have coverage that morning, actually. It was on Mother's Day.
He has actually transitioned to baseball.
He's gone woke and gone to baseball. Yeah, it's a real shame.
Well, I'm done. I'm done now.
Real quick before we move on for wide receiver ADPs, I've been workshopping a horrible take in my head. I think it's just time to unveil it. Ladd McConkey at wide receiver 38, no chance. No prayer. Absolutely no prayer.
No chance he finishes as a top 40?
No chance. No chance.
I
know he's got the second round draft capital. Harbaugh is not going to just be shoveling targets to a rookie, man. I don't get it. I don't see this.
I struggle. I struggle to see it. Also, let's just be real. Too small.
Man. Yeah, come on, man.
And people, he's 6'1". I'm not talking about height. I'm talking about pencil legs. I'm talking about
frame. Yeah.
No, yeah, the frame. Come on, too small.
I just don't see Harbaugh and really Greg Roman gonna. I absolutely love to draft the Greg Roman rookie wide receiver.
I know, right?
It's foolproof.
No, okay, all right. No. This is a good. You said that this is a bad take. No, it's actually a good take. I have zero interest in Ladd McConkey. I mean,
Ladd McConkey has just set the Chargers rookie record with his 93rd catch of the season. Folks, it's only week 14.
Zero. Like no. I would take Josh Palmer instead.
Like Ladd McConkey's ADP is higher than several first round receivers. Like what? I don't get it, man.
Oh, wait, is he? He's higher than Keon Coleman then?
It's higher than Keon Coleman. It's higher than Brian Thomas. It's higher than Xavier Worthy. Actually, it's a little lower than Xavier Worthy.
Okay, I was going to say what?
Yeah, way higher than
people
Mitchell.
Are getting carried away. Come on, man. This is Greg Roman.
It's just so the dot connecting with rookie targets, if they're not a first round pick, and I know he's a high second round pick, it just tends to never work. But
again, I want to emphasize too small.
I want to emphasize that it has never been more over for Denny, who spent the entire winter and spring telling people Patrick Mahomes, the check down guy now, like they're comfortable. They're going to be station to station forever. They won doing it this way. This is just who the Chiefs are now. And I've been countering all spring by saying, I don't know, man, I think they're just doing what they had to do to win. And that like, they don't want to do this any more than we do. They don't want Patrick Mahomes to be like one of those sports cars that has one of those really tacky covers over it. Like they want this thing out of the garage. They don't care about. They don't have a sun protector in the car. Those don't even work. Those don't even exist anymore.
Well, the reflectors do.
Do they work?
Yeah. If you have one that reflects the sun, it's like when you're a bystander, you're just walking past the car and you're blinded by it.
It like knocks you over. It's so bright. I guess that's true. They don't really make those like they used to. But I thought it was just a marriage of convenience with the check downing last year. And Pat Mahomes said the other day, Andy Reid is really pushing us to push the ball down the field in OTAs. And what do you think? This is just narrative, but it certainly jives with adding Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy, even though neither one of them are like pure deep threats. Their bigger deep threats are going to be potentially bigger game-breaking threats than Marquez Valdes-Scantling was, than Justin Watson is. And are you ready to reassess this take that the Chiefs are a check down Charlie offense?
Yeah. So it turns out Mahomes probably won't be Alex Smith going forward. Although last 2 years he's been kind of like Alex Smith, with like a turbocharged Alex Smith. So I think what happened was last year the plan was probably not to check down all season. The plan was probably to try some deep shots, and then they realized their deep guys were the worst in the league. Justin Watson, just a sprinter on the outside, not even part of the offense, running all the routes, by the way. MVS, the most unreliable downfield pass catcher in recent memory. Okay. So they upgraded with Hollywood Brown, with Xavier Worthy. They're going to go forward with that. No more Sky Moore. I mean, I'm sure he's on the team, but he's not going to be part of the offense. And then so yeah, they're gonna make me look like a fool, like a dang fool.
You don't stay married to bad takes for long, though. If you move on now, I don't know if people even remember.
Oh,
I'm
no,
not saying this is a bit.
We've moved on. We've moved on.
You moved on? Man, that's a little. Where's the courage of your convictions?
I mean, as soon as they took Worthy, I was like, oh, it's over. You know, like they were like, oh, right. We were so much more dangerous with Tyreek Hill running past the safeties. We're going to do that again. It
was clearly their one point of emphasis with the offense. Marquise Brown, who again has kind of failed as that kind of player, but can still be that kind of player in theory, and Xavier Worthy certainly seems like that. Those are compelling dots to connect, that they do not want to be the check down offense.
Right. And I do think, just from a fantasy standpoint, Mahomes has fallen to the part of like best ball drafts where I feel okay taking them because you can pretty easily stack them up, because Kelsey's going 20 plus picks after Laporta. The Zoomers are out of control.
Wow.
With that.
Talk about a disaster waiting to happen.
I mean, God grief. The Zoomers have never loved anyone more than they love Sam Laporta.
Zoomers absolutely love the fluky touchdown rates.
Well, his yards per route run was unbelievable. So
well, wait till he has to run an actual NFL complement of routes. Isn't just
I'm not here to tear down Laporta. I'm just saying it's a little much. It's a little much to be like the greatest tight end of all time, not as good as Sam Laporta.
I forgot Sam Laporta caught almost 90 balls. Actually, never mind. Zoomers are right.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I wanted to dismiss it too, and then I looked at his PFF page.
I mean, anytime you look up any of his boomer stats, like, yep, never mind. He's amazing.
I was looking for anything. I was going to hang my hat on any bad peripheral stat I could find, and I
couldn't find one.
I couldn't find one.
You so badly wanted to be a Laporta hipster, and
I wanted to be like, well, have you considered his so and so? But no, it's actually all great.
Friggin' amazing.
He's definitely on pace to be the best tight end of all time. So we'll see.
20 spots ahead of Kelsey's a little rich.
Yeah,
Mahomes.
Yeah,
so you can
right. So you can get Kelsey at a reasonable ADP. I think you get Mahomes at a very reasonable ADP, and then you get Worthy later, and maybe even someone else. Yeah, go crazy. Get Brown too, Hollywood Brown too.
Another really bad take that I don't feel nearly as strongly as my Ladd McConkey take. I don't even know how truly strong I feel about that. It's just when I look at rankings, when I look at ADPs, I find myself worrying a little bit about Jalen Hurts, who is just basically not falling outside the top 3 at quarterback. And just with how sideways things went last year, with like another new offensive system in Kellen Moore kind of struggling, really, I feel like, to fully utilize his players' skill sets. With no Jason, people would keep laughing at this. I really don't know if the tush push is still going to be a thing without Jason Kelsey. I know it's just the center. The Jalen Hurts' unique strength as a quarterback is probably the most important part of the equation there. But I get to see this Eagles offense kind of just picking up where it left off in the second half of last season and not being – he's still going to be a top 5 or 6 quarterback no matter what. But top 2 or 3, I wouldn't be shocked if we've already seen Jalen Hurts' peak. Excuse me. Jalen Hurts' peak in fantasy.
I mean, I don't like Kellen Moore at all. I think that he's been debunked.
He's been debunked. Apparently, he plays really fast, but who cares?
I mean, if they
faster 3 and outs.
That's analytics. If they get rid of the tush push, it's over for Hurts.
It would be over for Hurts if there was no tush push. It would be over.
I mean, at his ADP, I mean, if we know ahead, if they're like, no, we're not going to do that anymore, which I just be bowled over. As Kyle said, it's like the most potent play in modern football history, and I think that they'll keep doing it. But if he doesn't get all those easy touchdowns, gosh, they're just so easy, right? I mean, he could have a miserable passing day and still score 25 fantasy points because of that.
They're so easy, but he also banged his knee and played hurt. I can just see them wanting to try to limit the wear and tear on the. But then again, he wouldn't be Jalen Hurts.
But it is who he is. We got a blurb today on the site about the Bills finally coming to terms with the fact that Josh Allen is going to play like Josh Allen.
Wow, really? So they're finally. Listen, I can't stay here 5th summer in a row say he's going to run less.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This is the time of year where the Bills coaches always come out and say, look, he's got to be worse this year. He's got to throw shorter and he can't run. We're sick of him playing well. He's got to play more like a bad quarterback. And instead they said, look, this is his offense. Joe Brady said, the offensive coordinator said, this is the Josh Allen's offense. I love the idea of him being able to just cook this year.
Josh Allen's never cooked before.
Well, I mean, in the glimpses that we saw last year, it was fantastic for fantasy.
I was kidding me. When has Josh Allen not been cooking as Josh Allen?
Well, I mean, the first half of last year, they were begging him to stop cooking.
They were. And he was cooking a little less last year, but then most of the time he was still cooking.
And so with Hurts, I think the Eagles need to come to that same realization.
They will. This is a totally made up narrative by me. It's not going to happen. I don't know why I keep worrying about it.
You never know. It's weird with mobile quarterbacks. Both the quarterback and the coaches at times will be like, well, I'm not a running quarterback.
It's just the two data points of him not being the same after bruising his knee or whatever last year, and then losing Jason Kelce, a Hall of Fame center.
Yeah. Can we get? Oh man, we didn't get any information on that knee thing.
No, we never did. We never ever did.
That was aggravating.
That was weird. Be weird to not take.
The NFL should have rules about being open about injuries. I don't know.
They should. We should have rules about taking a short break. We'll be right back after this. The biggest stars battle on the clay courts of Roland Garros for a chance to be crowned a Grand Slam champion. Stream the French Open on Peacock today through June 9th. I've already been watching a lot of the French Open on Peacock, Denny. And
I haven't quite caught up yet, but I will.
You haven't caught up yet? You know that there's going to be Paris is going to do well, though, on the French Open.
Paris is looking good. So London, strong as always.
London not looking as strong in this French Open this year. But thankfully, there's no good English players right now, really. But
thankfully.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah. The Americans, no real good Americans yet. They're almost there. Ben Shelton, please break through this year. They got a lot of other people so close to breaking through.
Yeah.
One friggin' American. There's 330 million Americans. Maybe one of you could consider winning a tennis Grand Slam championship.
We should find one good tennis player.
So, no offense to Spain, but why Spain winning every Grand Slam? We're America.
I will say the clay courts are cool to watch because you see this just crazy spin on the ball. That thing grabs on that court. It's insane.
I know the ball gets so heavy on the clay courts. Yeah. It is something to behold. Anthony Richardson was something to behold when he wasn't suffering 3 different unique injuries last year, Denny, and thereby completely proving my point that he's not gonna be able to do what he did at Florida and crash test dummy and keep taking hits. But he's out here in OTAs saying he's not going to change the way he plays. What do you think this means? Is it true for Wicks? I mean, it could be wildly untrue. They're like, you can't do that.
Well,
so you need to play.
Yeah, he said, I'm trying to find exactly what he said. Okay, so he said, quote, I don't think there's any way I could have avoided what happened to me. Just a regular routine tackle. I tried to brace myself for the fall, and my shoulder just did what it did. People see me. I'm a big quarterback, so they always think he wants to run the ball. He wants to be physical, and that is what is going to get him hurt. That's not the case, he said.
Actually, an extremely compelling point. Not saying that's a bit genuinely a good point by the young man.
Right, and so Lamar 2 years ago when he missed time, they said, well, it's because of the rushing, but he got injured in the pocket. It was because he didn't leave the pocket that he got hurt. It was a weird, very fluky, very, like Anthony Richardson said.
The season-ending one was the concussion. I think the first shoulder, he was crashed.
Yes, exactly. He needs to do more to protect himself. I mean, he's a big guy, huge guy. I mean, like Kyle said last year, he's Derrick Henry playing quarterback. So that works really well when you're playing with smaller players in college. Okay. Not everybody is small in the NFL. In fact, very few players are. So except Emmanuel Forbes for Washington is the only small player in the NFL.
Very small.
And Ladd McConkey.
Be interested. He is over 6 feet tall. You gotta. He'll balk up a little bit.
All right. So Richardson, I think probably needs to change a little bit. He's right about the flukiness of his season-ending injury. But yeah, he's going to continue to be popped, and he's got to learn, I think, to get down if he's going to play a full season. Do I love his chances of playing a full season? No, I don't.
So Anthony Richardson, Denny, I'm looking up the exact number of snaps he played as a rookie. Anthony Richardson has played 173 NFL snaps, and he's being drafted ahead of Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, Brock Purdy, lots of people who actually score fantasy points.
I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. I think we talked about this in a previous generation of fantasy drafters. Anthony Richardson would be available in the 12th round.
Yes.
And now you have to spend a premium pick on him. I mean, Jayden Daniels could easily outscore Richardson, and he's going way, way after.
Man, that would be a really good bet. I wish that would be like a good. You need to hopefully John Daggle's on the other side of this argument or something. The kind of thing Daggle would do.
Yeah,
Fight Pod John Daggle. Someone needs to throw down on Jayden Daniels versus Anthony Richardson.
I'd take the Daniels side probably.
I would say Jayden's probably more likely to get injured than Anthony Richardson this year, though, because Anthony Richardson learned, and Jayden Daniels is going to have to learn.
Yes, exactly. I love the Colts offense in general. I think Shane Steichen is really good, a really good play caller, really good manager of that offense. So, I mean, in the off chance that Richardson plays 17 games, I mean, you're going to cook. Like it's going to be good. You're going to want Colts on your fantasy team for sure.
Do you take Anthony Richardson every single time over Joe Burrow?
I mean, yes, because Burrow is a pocket passer, and those are very replaceable in fantasy.
Well, they are, but not the elite tier ones. But
is he elite?
He is. But the counter argument there is he probably gets injured at the same rate as Anthony Richardson, only without the running. So it's kind of like, why not bet on Anthony Richardson?
I mean, you want to talk about check down Charlie? That's Joe Burrow.
I mean, kind of.
No. I know. I reject that. He is Joe Burrow. Has a lot of dog in him. Seems like a fine young man. Also, he never throws deep.
He's throwing not deep more than ever, I'll say.
Yeah, which is cool. Listen, keep it up, Joe, if you're listening, because I want Jamar Chase to catch 165 balls.
I want Jamar Chase to just ever get featured as an alpha. That would be nice. And would have been real nice if Jamar Chase had said that on our podcast, but he refused to say it.
No, he did not. He did not say we still have to pretend like Tee Higgins is as good.
Yeah, even Jamar Chase has to pretend Tee Higgins is as good.
God, can we please drop the facade?
Which brings us to Tee Higgins. We're going to talk about Malachi Corley in a minute, but Tee Higgins, he's still not reporting. Probably not going to report for a really, really long time because he cannot get fined since he is unsigned as a franchise tagged player. What do you think the end game is here? He is paying a price in fantasy. Actually, he's not being drafted as a wide receiver 2 for the first time in a really long time, but he's just right outside. He's the wide receiver 27. But the injury history is getting pretty long with Tee Higgins. The bad blood is apparently deepening between him and the Bengals. Understandably so. He needs to get paid. He knows this, especially with the injuries. He's got to get paid now. He wants his long-term deal now. But it doesn't seem like there's any chance of that happening. He could probably hold out pretty deep into training camp, it seems like. But I mean, that's speculation, of course. But what do you think the end game is here with Tee Higgins, and how should we be approaching this in fantasy drafts?
I'm hesitant to take him at ADP because of how tenuous the situation has gotten between him and the team. I don't think the team is like hard pressed to do a long-term deal. I don't think they want to. He's demanded a trade. He's requested a trade, and we have to remember that. I think the team would do well probably to part ways with him and get some draft capital or something. But what you said, wide receiver 27?
Wide receiver 27.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst, but the only way I'm taking Tee Higgins right now, I'm just going to say for best ball purposes, only way I'm taking Higgins right now is if I have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and I want like all the Bengals points, right? That's it. But I think that this is a bad situation, and it's getting worse all the time.
Famous last words. The guy going directly behind Tee Higgins is George Pickens. And 100 times out of 100, I would take George Pickens over Tee Higgins.
I'd feel way more comfortable taking Pickens. Yeah,
I think Pickens' ADP for like probably the third straight year is going to just skyrocket. And once people come to terms with the Arthur Smith thing, with the Russell Wilson thing, it's a better quarterback situation than Arthur Smith had in Atlanta, maybe not by a lot. And there's just even less target competition. We can't get over, at least I can't get over, how George Pickens got the most marginal improvement ever in quarterback play last year in Mason Rudolph. And that was all it took for him to have 350 yards over his final. A game where he didn't even catch a ball in week 18. You can include that.
Wow.
And he had 350 yards over his final 3 games.
Yeah. Also, I think his playing style is very impressive. And what I mean by that is, like you said, well, his ADP will rise. So if he makes 1 or 2 highlight catches in the preseason, I mean, that matters. I know it sounds silly, but people generally base their fantasy draft takes on what they see in the preseason or in training camp. And he makes crazy catches. And do we want more of the short stuff, the easy stuff? Of course.
It's not happening though. Just people have to come to terms with the fact that he's not a PPR scammer.
No, he's not. He's not a scam. Never will be a scam, unfortunately. But I do think, I mean, right now, if you want Pickens, you got to draft him right now because he's only going to get more expensive as time goes on.
Yeah, he's like Will Fuller or Deshaun Jackson. He's not going to run the scam. He's not backing his Chevy Tahoe into the ATM and knocking it over and collecting $100 bills with cheap PPR catches.
No, it would be cool. Gosh, it would be cool, but no.
But it doesn't matter. It's cool already what he does. Like, that's the point, though. It is. With PPR, I fall victim to this too. It's too easy a lot of times to focus on floor guys. Like, I'm gonna bank those points, buddy.
Yeah.
1.7 7-yard catch. All I hear is 1.7 points. And you don't win weeks that way. You need people who are capable of winning matchups, flipping matchups, winning weeks.
Right. I mean, one catch for George Pickens can be 14.8 points.
Will be interesting to see how Arthur Smith totally ruins this. Man, jeez. And is Aaron Rodgers going to wreck Malachi Corley? The drumbeat will not stop of hype and praise for the day 2 receiver. Hopefully day 2. I don't think it was the 4th round. Aaron Rodgers said Malachi Corley was his favorite receiver in the draft. It was the kind of receiver that the Jets was missing from their offense. A guy who can go to work as like a yak guy, very complimentary to Garrett Wilson. Not that Garrett Wilson can't do that. It just seemed like a missing link in this Jets offense. The hype started strong. It's going to stay strong all summer. How high is too high for Malachi Corley? How do you think we should approach this young man in draft?
Where is he going right now? Do you have that?
I do. Malachi Corley is currently the wide receiver 74, so essentially does not have an ADP.
Yeah, I mean, and he will eventually, but I really don't see him rising to the point of like agonizing over whether to take him or not. I feel like, especially if you go running back heavy early in the draft and you're kind of scrounging for receiver production and targets and opportunities, snaps, routes, all that stuff, right? Corley's your guy. Like, Corley is like what you're looking for. He is like the perfect prototype for what you need in that sort of draft scenario, in that team building exercise. I wrote about Corley a couple weeks ago for the site. 32% target per route run in his final college season. That's very high. 31% overall target share for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. And yeah, like we just said, I know you just said, we just finished saying you don't win leagues with a PPR scam, but you don't need to win a league taking Malachi Corley in the 12th round or 15th round or whatever it is. And I think he could easily be a guy like a flex option who has a very safe PPR floor week in and week out. And Rodgers seems in on him. And folks, that matters. That matters with Rodgers more than anybody.
It does.
These old grizzled veterans, right? If they don't like you, you're not going to be part of the party. Okay, like you're out. He likes them, and that's very important.
And just to be clear, you need some PPR scamming on your team, of course.
Yeah.
You just cannot be afraid to draft non-PPR guys just because occasionally they're going to hit you with a 0.
That's right.
And sure, it'll knock you out of the playoffs, and everything you know and love will be ruined. But
right. Your heart will shatter into 1 million pieces when you look at your phone on Sunday night and realize you would have won if George Pickens would have caught one ball.
Exactly. Sunday Night Football, and the Steelers somehow have lost to the worst team in the league. They've lost, like, to say, the Chicago Bears. No offense to NBC, but we're like every other network. We love to put the Bears in prime time, and they beat the Steelers easily.
9-0.
9-0. Yes, because Caleb Williams departed in the first quarter with a calf injury.
Oh God!
So it's 9-0.
Please no.
I really hope there's not a Steelers-Bears Sunday Night Football game.
If there is, I'm gonna watch it extra.
And there is, yeah. You know what? Guess what? Then we love it. It's amazing.
I'm gonna live tweet it like I don't already.
Malachi Corley, man, wide receiver 74. That's not gonna hang. That's gonna go way up.
No, but I'm telling you, in normie leagues, I should stop saying that. In more casual leagues, in office leagues.
And legit and well-adjusted leagues.
Yeah, right. With people who have lives and functioning brains that are interested in other things except for fantasy football. Corley's not being drafted. I promise you, Corley will not be drafted.
He'll be drafted in August. I'll say that. He will be drafted in August. Because the casual people do that. I know this Aaron Rodgers fella.
No. In so-called expert leagues, we're going to be stupid with Corley. We're going to be like, oh, I took him in the 5th because if you think about it, and it's going to be the worst pick ever, obviously.
I'm in the 12 hole, first round, back to back. I'm hitting Anthony Richardson and Malachi Corley.
Bang bang,
bang bang. There you go. And Malachi Corley, he's a tackle breaker. He's a yak guy. We like him a lot.
We do.
We also like taking a short break. We'll be right back after this. Can Nelly Corda continue her historic run on the LPGA Tour? Find out this week when she competes against the world's best at the U.S. Women's Open presented by Ally. Tune in Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. I slurred 2 words. I don't know what I was doing there.
Can I just real quick share something with you about Nelly Corda?
Please do.
She is obviously dominant. First in strokes gained tee to green. First around the green. Top 20 in putting. She is a machine. Her stats are Tiger-esque, some would say.
Scheffler-esque is the new one.
But Davis Riley beat Scheffler this week. So who's Tiger now? Huh?
Yeah, Scheffler's been really rattled since dragging this plea, and he actually didn't drag it. He was going very slow.
I don't know.
Has this police officer explained yet how his pants got ruined?
We have to look into that strongly because I need to know how and why his pants were ruined.
And how that made it into the report.
I have my theories.
We all have a theory on that one. We don't really have a theory on what's going to happen in the Broncos backfield. It's 5 guys: it's Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine, Jaleel McLaughlin, Blake Watson, and who's the 5th guy? Audric Estime. And Sean Payton has promised a quote, big competition. This is in the words of the coach. And he said the 3 holdovers, Javonte, Samaje, and Jaleel, are going to face a quote, challenging battle to maintain their 2023 roles. And do you believe that? Or because Sean, he loves his guys. Samaje Perine was his guy. He actually was signed by Sean Payton. He was not a holdover. Javonte Williams is a holdover. Jaleel McLaughlin, though, is a Payton guy, too. And the 2 new Payton guys beat out the 2 holdover Payton guys. And are you like me? Or he coming back to I don't really see how this ends well for Javonte Williams, even though he's currently got the highest ADP and is most established back.
All right. Yeah. So I was kind of with you on being out on Javonte Williams a couple weeks ago. And then you
read one stat.
And then I read one stat and I said, well, I'm actually wrong. And Pat's very wrong.
Quite possible.
So, I went to a secret source called his Pro Football Reference page, which is only accessible to industry folks. And I noticed, I couldn't help but noticing that Javonte Williams outcarried Samaje Perine and McLaughlin combined last year and was targeted like a solid amount. Okay. Here's the thing. The reason we don't really care about this too much, I guess, or why it hasn't factored into his ADP is because he didn't do anything with any of this opportunity.
So inefficient.
He was super bad. He was bad. Okay. And maybe that was, he needs another year to get over the knee injury. I think we're spoiled with these catastrophic injuries, whether it's Achilles or knee or whatever. And we just say, oh, well, the guy's back, so he's going to be just as good. And that was not the case. Like, his peripherals dropped off the face of the earth last year, talking about Javonte. But the opportunity was there.
Real quick, Denny, bottom 10 in both raw aggregate rush yards over expected and per carry. He was not efficient at all.
I mean, he was like AJ Dillon-esque. Okay. So I struggle, but I struggle to dismiss him because he still was the RB1. Like, he was the primary back.
But then why did they add 2 running backs? I mean, one of them was an undrafted free agent and Blake Watson. But like, why is Sean Payton? It could be pointless coach speak, but why is he using some of his May coach speak on talking up like a battle royale? In his backfield,
That's what it is. A battle.
It royale. It's crazy. He really is calling it like a 5-man competition, which you don't really ever see.
Somebody's gonna smack somebody with a ladder.
Yeah, and I don't know why the Broncos have so many metal folding chairs at their padless practices, but they need to get rid of those.
Wow. Yeah. I saw Audric Estime actually practicing his folding chair throw during OTAs. It was weird, but now it makes sense.
So the players are hurting each other. It seems very counterproductive.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I want to figure out this Denver backfield because I think it could be really fun, really good for fantasy. Right now, it's so difficult, though. I don't know how to parse this.
I'm Xing out Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine, even though they could very easily just reclaim their roles from last year. I just don't think Javonte is good enough. Samaje, like, even Sean Payton has got to be at some point like, all right, Samaje Perine is not good enough, and he's too old. Like, it's time to move on to a different scam, or at least until we get some clarity in training camp. I'm going with the either super low ADPs and Jaleel McLaughlin or the non-existent ADPs and Audric Estime and Blake Watson. And Blake Watson, you should not be drafting Blake Watson. I shouldn't even.
Probably not right now. We'll see about training camp.
You should not be drafting Blake Watson, so I shouldn't even be saying his name. But like seriously, yeah, it actually is like irresponsible to be mentioning him.
I mean, 66% of the fantasy content right now is about Blake Watson, so it's okay to mention his name.
Yeah, it seems very high.
We probably should rethink that as an industry.
We really should. No wonder we're not getting any clicks.
We got to get that Blake Watson click.
We're
click machine. Please click us.
Please click my GM rankings, which I should have mentioned at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Really good stuff. Really, I'm gonna tweet out my favorite Pat-isms from that piece.
You do a better job of getting engagement on that than I do. So I was gonna probably text you. Please do it. Please do it.
That's because my dopamine receptors are starving.
So Denny, Kyle, and I are gonna talk about that on Thursday. By the way, are we gonna talk about Rashod Bateman, or should I let you go pick up your kids?
I mean, we can talk about him.
Todd Monken said he's seen tremendous growth from Rashod Bateman. Yeah. He's either always injured or never producing, has the first round pedigree, did pop up a few times down the stretch last year. They didn't add anything at receiver. It remains a position of need for the Ravens. He's still a young guy, only 24 years old. I kind of just laid it out. Is there anything you want to flesh out further there with Rashod Bateman?
I don't know where the targets are going to come from because I know everybody, including obviously the Zoomers, have forgotten about Mark Andrews, who I guess I've been called literally yesterday. I was called a boomer for thinking Mark Andrews was a good fantasy pick. I have no idea when this happened, but it did. So you have Mark Andrews, you have Zay Flowers. This is still not an offense that's passing a lot. They were right. Baltimore was right middle of the pack in pass rate over expected last year, which is a huge improvement or a huge increase, I should say, over the bottom 2 or bottom 3 pass rate over expected that we've been used to with Lamar under center. Still, I don't. Where is it going to come from? Like Zay Flowers, somebody's going to have to go down, and Bateman's going to have to step up. And so far, Bateman has been very bad on his opportunities.
Wonder how many times I could dismissively refer to Zay Flowers' ADP, by the way, before Crane texts me.
You're going to get in trouble with Crane. Crane's going to actually one day just like he's going to post a video that's going to go viral saying how wrong you are on Zay Flowers.
Is he in on Zay again? I actually haven't talked to him about this yet.
Oh, well, I thought he was.
I'm sure he is. He was. I believe. I know he thinks he's good.
Yeah,
he might be good.
I mean, whatever Crane says goes. That's
actually. Surely Crane will be wrong this time, and he's right yet again.
What is it? Oh, I know what it was. I was like, oh, Josh Jacobs, good pick, solid pick, fine pick. I listened to one Pet Crane podcast, the Legendary Upside podcast, and I was like, I don't even know who Josh Jacobs is. I don't no idea. I don't know who he plays for. Never heard of him.
So check out Pat's content. Check out our content, including my GM rankings. Check out our draft guide, which will be coming out like a month or so. We are currently toiling on. And we have our fantasy preview series beginning. By the way, Denny, you have to claim a lot of fantasy previews before you go to Greece.
Okay.
You remember the fantasy preview series that we do every summer?
I'm just starting to remember that now. Yeah.
So unless you want to learn posting in Greece, buddy.
Well, I'm going to an island where there's very little connectivity, so I will have to send those via carrier pigeon.
Telegraph line. I'm sure they still have some telegraph lines in some of those Greek islands.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Some of those Italian islands. Some of those I'm out of islands. Time to end the show. So for Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back in 48 hours with Mr. Kyle Dvorak.